So in this video, I want to talk about why having a weak body is a liability, right? Because when you look at life, life is always trying to find ways to test us, right? Trying to throw things our way to see if we can handle it. And not only that, but you look at the feminization of society, right? They're always telling men how, we need to express ourselves emotionally. We need to be more emotionally connected. And I'm like, for what? Like, if I want to express myself, I express myself by hitting the weight room, right? Lifting some heavy stuff, or I go in the heavy bag and start punching stuff, right? And for some other people, it's like, go to the gun range and shooting, right? These are, for men, these are our outlet to express ourselves, right? So like in this video, talking about how, a weak body can be a liability, we'll start with, the physical liability, right? Like, for instance, like if you got yourself in a situation where, somebody's threatening you, somebody's threatening your friends, your family, like, would you be capable of defending yourself, right? If you had to run somewhere, if you had to lift yourself up in a situation, would you be capable of doing these things, right? And you want to make sure that your body is capable of handling these things, right? Because you never know. Like sometimes, like I talk about, hard times come in situations where in the world, like some people think hard times are here now, but for a lot of people, who knows what hard times look like, and you want to make sure, hey, in that situation, you're ready for it, right? You want to be ready for times when it gets tough. Right, you want to make sure whatever that situation is, whatever times get tough, you want to make sure you can physically handle that, right? And I think that's important for a lot of people, because you look at a lot of guys, I think a lot of them, either out of shape, don't go to the gym, stressed out, and they're not physically capable of doing these things. So I think it's important to make sure that your body is not a liability. Not only that, but not only is the physical part important, but also mental. You want to make sure that's not a psychological liability. Okay, because let's be honest, like when your body is weak, so the self-esteem is a little fragile, right? Like you avoid challenges instead of like taking them head on. You fear things like confrontation. All right, like the psychological part is is an important aspect when it comes to making sure you're building up your body to be able to handle these things. Right. And usually, let's be honest, like confidence comes from, someone that's, fit and in shape. There's a lot of confidence when it comes to that. You're like, hey, if something goes down, I'm confident in my ability to handle that situation, or be prepared to make sure physically I can handle that. Right. Because obviously there's other aspects to that. Situational awareness and everything, but you want to make sure, at least at the physical aspect and the psychological aspect, you're ready to take on these things. And for a lot of people, that could be a liability because they have a weak body and they lack confidence. Not only that, but a weak body can also be a social liability, right? Because let's be honest, like men respect strength, right? And when we see someone that's fit, and the reason why men respect strength, because we see a person that's fit, that's in shape, we see that person that's disciplined, committed, all right, and can potentially be a reliable individual, because we know that person has the discipline to make sure they're taking care of the body, building up the strength, and building their body up to be capable of taking on certain situations. And I think that for a lot of people, and not only that, but women do that as well. They look at a man, they see him as fit, they say, all right, clearly I feel safe around that individual. And you want to make sure you're putting yourself in a situation and getting your body ready for situations like that, just in case. You never know. Right? Not to say things may not pop up, but you want to make sure you're putting yourself and preparing your body for situations just in case things happen. There's no downside to making sure you're getting fit and in shape, right? There's no downside. I know for a lot of people it's a lot of work, but you know what? It's a good thing, right? Especially in the long run, for your health in the long run. So socially, like, you want to make sure you don't put yourself in a situation where your body is considered a liability socially, right? Now, another thing you want to be careful with is your body being a liability economically, right? Because if you're someone that's always tired, right, stressed out, you're weak, you're slow, your energy is low, then you're always got to worry about that person next to you, that guy, that man next to you that's got high energy, right? You're not gonna be able to compete with that person, and that could affect you financially, whether it's at work, whatever it is you do, start a business, whatever it is. If you're competing with another man and that person has more energy than you because you're not physically fit, then you could lose out on opportunities when it comes to increasing your economics, your finances, right? So these are things that you want to make sure that, a weak body can hurt you economically. You want to make sure you put yourself in a position where, all right, you're taking care of your body, you're building up your stamina, putting yourself here, making sure your health is okay. So just in case that, in this world, especially in this world where you got to compete, right? It's a competitive world. There's always someone trying to take your spot. There's always someone trying to outcompete you when it comes to going getting that money, right? You want to make sure you're able to compete with that person. But if you're someone that's not taking care of your body, then you're going to be outcompeted all the time. 9 times out of 10, someone's going to outcompete you. And that's not what you want. You want to make sure you put yourself in a position where your body's ready to handle that. All right. And finally, a weak body can be a liability biologically. And the reason why I talk about that is, like, especially in society, like, they talk about how, for a lot of men, their testosterone levels are declining. All right, and that could be for a lot of reasons, whether it's the water, whether it's the environment. Men have not gotten to a point where they're taking care of their body. And I think for a lot of men, one of the best, especially as you age, your testosterone levels decline. But one of the best ways to maintain your testosterone levels or improve it is by lifting weights. And for a lot of men, they don't do that. And not only that, but you're consuming food, your diet. Who knows what's in these foods these days? That's also affecting your hormones. All right. So if you're going to keep your body weak, then biologically that could be a liability. And then one of the best ways to improve that is making sure you're consuming a proper diet, or at best hitting the gym, building up that testosterone level a natural way, without having to take testosterone boosters or all these other testosterone things. You want to make sure that you're doing it naturally, right? Or at least maintaining that testosterone level, because there's studies that show that testosterone levels are declining when it comes to men. Right? And it's not, let's be honest, most men, I'm pretty sure we don't check our testosterone on a consistent basis. But you can see it by the body, right? We're getting, you have a lot of men who have a lot more body fat, right? A lot less, more feminine, right? Weaker. And you can just see, you can tell a weak body. And that's not what you want. Like I said, a weak body is a liability. You want to build that up. All right. So I think for me, it's like, I think the overall message is like, instead of, the goal is to turn your body into an asset instead of a liability. And one of the best ways to do that is obviously, training, lifting some stuff, right? Just lifting heavy stuff, going to the gym, doing push-ups, doing something, right? Building muscle. I think that's the most important thing. Finding ways to build muscle, right? You don't got to be this bulky diesel dude, but you want to at least have, some slight definition, right? Lean out a little bit, right? Eliminate the body fat. And put yourself in a situation where if things get tough, you can handle it physically, mentally, economically, socially, all these things. You want to make sure you're putting all those together and making sure that your body can handle this. And the best way to do that is making sure you're prioritizing your fitness level. All right. So those are my thoughts. Interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment down below with the like button, share. And if you haven't done so, then make sure to subscribe. So guys, take care. Have a good one. Later.